Stretching the body, but also activating this point above the head and the heart. Now let's try the one where we reach on the horizontal. I reach forwards. So here you're pulling into the dantian. You can do the heart if you prefer. You want to wake up the heart and the belly, not just as centers of energy, but as centers of awareness. So your awareness can be centered in any of our three dantians. So in Tai Chi, we recommend the belly. It's as far from the head as we can sort of reasonably get. So it's distanced from thoughts and mental formations. It's the center of the body, and it's just unprejudiced. It sees things much more as they are than the head does. So I think of the Dantian, the lower Dantian, the belly, as being like an underground lake, a subterranean lake. So it's deep. And when you're in it, there's a sense that your movements are wading through water. They have a gravity, a seriousness, and a slowness that one associates with water, walking through water, moving through water. So let's try some of the palming now. Rubbing the hands to warm them up a fraction. And then the hands over the eyes. Have the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And just feel as though your eyes are trying to look into that point. And then the hands down, and they're just this slow, strong blinking. Really squeezing the eyeball. And then just a few quick superficial blinks. Okay, let's rub the hands again, and we'll just place them over the heart. When your awareness is centered here, then the world looks differently. And you have a different attitude towards things. So let's just turn the head now. Feel that pulling into the heart region. Rub the hands again, and we'll do the belly. The hands over the lower down chin. Register how the world appears, how your awareness is again shifted in quality. For me, it's like I see the world uncolored by my own prejudices, my own resentments. I see things as they are. So traditionally, it's the center of peace and contentment. Like the smiling Buddha. And then just allow the head just to sway side to side. Now let's just rub the hands again and do the knees. And then just rub the knees. TLC, tender loving care. It's all in the quality of your mind and heart. Remember those Lonely Hearts ads in Time Out back in the 70s? So women would always ask for two qualities in a man: TLC, tender loving care, and GSOH, a good sense of humor. They're really useful for this work. feeling the sacrum heavy, dominant. And big. Push back into the heels a little bit, like your heels are getting big. So the sacrum is really reaching down into the feet, but especially the heels. So the sense that your sacrum is going back a little bit, almost like you're sticking your bum out in order to squeeze back into the heels. And then just making this triangle shape with the hands, just place that over the sacrum. So hands behind you. It's more like a diamond shape. So we'd like to get the thumbs up to the Ming Men, or at least to the top, very top of the sacrum. And the index fingers are just pointing down into the tailbone. And then just relax. So the weight of the arms just relaxing onto the sacrum will ease it forwards a little bit. So you've still got the heels, but without pushing your sacrum back. Sacrum is working forwards gently. So it's sinking and just drifting forwards ever so slightly. And the arms behind, the hands behind, just pulls the shoulders back a little bit, so stretches the chest open. So I normally do this, just hold it until I feel the release in the heart area. So that will mean that my sacrum is now under the heart, which is what we want. The heaviness of the sacrum enables the heart to lighten. Keep the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, the very, very top of the roof of the mouth, where it's the highest. And almost a little pressure, just pushing your tongue up into the brain. And just imagine that the back of your eyes are looking into that region. And then just bring the hands out. And now just place them sort of upper chest. So you can have the fingers on the chest or just in front. So now it's like a sacrum for the upper body, but it's got all the opposite qualities of the lower sacrum. And the lower sacrum is heavy, so it's pulling downwards. This one is light and is trying to point upwards, drift upwards. So when I work with people, the most powerful adjustment that I can make on them when they're standing. So I will stand to their side and just place one hand on their sacrum and the other on their sternum. And as soon as I touch it, the sacrum just naturally relaxes and the sternum naturally lifts. But also the person can feel the real relationship between those two bones. And then just coming into riding horse. Part of your mind with the sacrum, part of your mind with the sternum, and part of your mind with the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So the three centers are attended to. Ideally, we want those three places to be on one vertical line. Then there's a sense that they become one thing. It's just you. And now let's turn it. Getting the figure of eight going around. Feet, the hips, the shoulders, however you want to see it. And my left arm is tracing like the real outside of this left loop. And then the left arm comes and assists the right one. So it's quite different from doing the two circles, where we have two separate circles. Here we have a figure of eight, so it's very much joined. Both arms are doing the same loop. So the continuity of this unbroken figure of eight is making it feel round. and making it feel very contained. So nothing is reaching out of it. It's all contained within, but there's this endless movement within. So that's the quiet mind. The quiet mind is just in the Dantian, observing all of this activity. Even when you're thinking to yourself, your mind can still be settled in the Dantian, watching these thoughts without paying them much attention. Let's work on these points here. So the places in the inguinal folds that soften when you yield. So as I go around here, it's like the hand is coming into this, and then it passes out of the sacroiliac, and then the hand captures the energy as it comes around here. So there's a sense that you're just passing like a ball from one hand to the other, but it has to go through your hip first. bringing it up to these points beneath the collarbone here. So it's really just the identical place in the shoulders as it was in the hips. So now I just imagine the energy's piercing this point, coming out of my shoulder blade, and then the other arm picks it up. So it's the wings. And then let's try the same thing with the head. Maybe bring the feet up a bit. It's up to you where you feel the entry point. There were times with John where it was the inside of the eyes, near the bridge of the nose. So let's try that. So I just come into this point. So with my right hand, I'm coming into this point on the left eye, then out of the back of the head and around. You can think of the wing of the head being like the peripheral vision. You don't want to look at it too directly, because then it will just disappear. So I'm seeing with my outside peripheral vision. So it's more like a sensing rather than a seeing. I'm feeling this wing. Keep the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. There's this real sort of anchor point in the middle of the brain, which your tongue is pointing up into. You just have to feel it. And then just let it take off, let it take you somewhere. Back into riding horse. So let's just put the hands over the sacrum again. You could just have the palms there on each sacroiliac. It doesn't really matter. So the sacrum is driving down. It's sinking me down. And then just hands to the sternum. And let's just breathe. Flexing the spine. I just really want to feel the spine, just scan it with my mind. If I find there's two vertebrae that won't move away from each other, I just want to help flexibility open up. It's very important, especially as we get older. So one flexibility in the lower spine and the upper spine, as well as the mid spine. When we do this, it tends to be the mid spine that's bending most. So here I want the sense that my tail is coming under to squeeze a little bit of flexibility into my lower back. And then here, I really want to lift the upper heart, the sternum, top of the sternum upwards to get flexibility into the upper spine. So here I'm pulling my bum under a little bit. And then here I'm really thinking of that triangle, the arrowhead on the sternum that's pointing upwards. So every time I work, I just want to try and see if I can just do it a little bit better than last time, so that there is a sense of movement in your work, a sense of progress. And that's especially important as we get older as well, because the forces working against us as we age are strong. And my sternum is not just moving up, it's releasing. I'm letting go so that it can escape. There's a sense that something is escaping out of my upper heart. Keep a presence in your belly. You don't want it to be your energy that's coming up here. You're simply releasing something, like opening a door. So the whipping of the spine is giving this place energy, which then just releases. So I don't need my body and my chi to go with it. Whenever I've met people that have impressed me with their probity and like an inner cheerfulness, just an ability to look at the world with no side, with no bias, no prejudice. Basically, what they've had is mind in Dantian. They've simply been settled in this place and are just viewing the world from there. It's a place of absolutely no opinion. Who cares what you think? Heavy sacrum, light heart, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. that's just like a center of gravity, really, sort of holding on, and then the rest of the head can just let go and just shine, because you've got this sort of anchor point in the middle. Let's pick the foot up. Using this figure of 8. So I'm going to put my weight in the left foot and I'm going to lift my right foot. Basically just doing the figure of 8 in the feet, going around this one because it's the one that's going to be on the ground. And I just let this arm go out the side. So what I want when I pick up the foot is for my weight to really be moving in this direction. I'm really going into the outside edge of my foot. And that really helps the stability. I'm finding this now with the people that I'm teaching. It's always the struggle picking a foot off the ground. And so this arm sticking out the side has a real function. That's the way my energy's moving. My weight is moving in this direction. And it's just the figure of 8. I'm going around this foot and then I loop it back and I go around this foot. So we want the figure of 8 to be continuous. And so at this point here where I pick the foot up, it really has to slow down. But I don't want it to stop. It's just really slowing down. So again, I'm feeling the equilibrium, the dynamic equilibrium. It seems to be still, but it's actually still moving. Work on this point here in the leg. This shape happens a lot in the form. Often when we pick a foot off the ground, we're doing this, either explicitly or implicitly. And gradually just let the knee get a bit higher each time. What I'd like to be able to do is place the foot on top of my knee. And then the knee is just slightly higher than your hip, which means that you're working on the lower back. You're getting flexibility into the lower back by pulling it under. When I'm with a student and we're practicing this, we do it in front of each other, so we're sort of mirroring. And then as they bring their foot up, I will use my foot to lift their foot a little higher, so my foot is underneath their foot, which gives them a bit of stability and also stretches into the hip a bit more. And this can just become a walk. And now, just going backwards and forwards. So yielding, the straight becomes round. Let's make it a bit more explicit. I come forwards to push, so I'm coming into my left foot and I'm pushing with my right hand. And then I want to circle out this right arm to start the yielding, start the pulling of the other person with the energy. So I've straightened this arm as much as it ever straightens. Nothing's ever straight in Tai Chi. And then I just make this semicircle. And then I go back and push with this hand, and then I make a semicircle, come forwards, push with this hand, then I make this circle, go back, push with this hand, make this circle, come forwards, push with this hand. So more like what we've been doing with this figure of 8 that's going around the hips or the feet. We make it a bit more explicit like this, it just makes the feeling stronger. So here it's like, oh Jesus, like I've seen a ghost. There's a moment of absolute terror. It's a big thing to reach out and embrace. Who knows what you're embracing? But the way we've started doing this in this lesson, this opening was opening to my own foot. Now I have to open to something that's outside of me, that's alien. I think, one of the wonderful things about all of that pushing hands that we did was that you couldn't be choosy. You had to push hands with whoever presented themselves. It's what people here say, oh, I can do it with you because I trust you, but I can't do it with someone else because I just don't feel I can trust them, so I can't open up to them. So this was the value of that pushing hands. You just learn to trust everyone and anyone. And sometimes it was difficult. Sometimes the person would be very tense or a bit aggressive. But generally, one would find that one's own good nature and one's own willingness to engage actually diffuse the situation. Avoidance is never an option, as John used to say. And neither is force. Think elbow and knee. Both elbow and knee are rounding out. Just imagine you're pushing hands. So here you just push someone, their hand turns over and they start to push you. So this hand folds in so that it's moving backwards towards you. But as it's folding in and you're beginning to turn, your elbow is still extending. So as you yield, your hand is yielding really, but my elbow is still enveloping the person, but not in the direction that they're taking me the other way. They're taking me this side of them, but my elbow is going around this side. So my yielding deals with their hand, but it also keeps my energy coming forwards, but through my elbow and the knee. Let's try some of this one where we do the 2 figures of 8s at the same time. Doing 2 figures of 8s that are touching each other. So when I bring my hands down the top of the figure of 8, my 2 backs of my hands are touching each other now. And then I go underneath the figure of 8 and now my 2 palms are touching. So it's basically the breathing exercise. So here this is tending to flex me backwards as I come up the figure of 8. And then this tends to fold me over, flex me forwards. And then just come backwards and forwards with it. So as you come into the front foot, you're coming over the top. And then I go down, and as I cut under the bottom, I'm in my back foot with a real sense that I'm trying to cut underneath my own heel. Here I'm coming over the top of my head, but also over the front foot. And then here I'm getting under the back foot and under my sacrum, and my hands really come back. And then you can just flatten out the figures of 8 so it's more on the horizontal plane. bring it to riding horse. Place the hands over the sacrum again. So touching the sacrum, it sort of earths it in a way. It just feels more settled. You have more of a sense of it. You can trust it more. And it just changes your posture. You're more inclined to let it drift forwards when you have more of a feeling for it. It's often difficult to tell where it is. Just a helping hand. And then just bringing the hands up to the sternum. Now let's just finish. Or just a little bit of this heel work. Just to give a sense of the lightness that we need to stop everything from freezing and allowing the mind to wander. So real lightness, like a butterfly's fluttering up from your knee. And then feel the hand that's digging down into the opposite heel, into the other heel. Delicate lightness flutters up, and a serious heaviness goes down, but it's not physically heavy really. It's just sort of serious in a way. Playful, full of play. And then feel it activating the wings. So this figure of 8 is being encouraged, and this figure of 8 is being, so the wings from the shoulders. And then the one in the head, so the wings of the eyes, or you can think of it as the wings of the jaw. We want real sort of looseness in the jaw. Keep the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and that will stop it from all getting too wobbly. And then just let it settle.